Hey guys, and welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter board game review. Today's game we have up on the table is called Maximum Apocalypse. It's made by Rock Manor Games, and it's for 2 to 6 players, although for this edition that we have, it's 2 to 4, about 45 to 90 minutes, and for ages 13 and up. In this game, it is a post-apocalyptical, roguelike style game with 3 different scenarios. You've got the alien scenario, you've got the end of the world post-apocalyptical scenario, and you also have the zombie scenario. Now what the scenario we're working with is going to be the zombie scenario, and every turn monsters will spawn, which is basically we're going to be putting cubes on the board to represent monsters that we're going to have to draw and fight. And we're also going to try and escape from where we are currently at, our shelter, to where we need to get, which is the van. But before we can get there, we need to get some fuel. And that's just one scenario. Now also scenarios have tons of bosses and other great stuff like that. Let me go ahead and show you exactly what Maximum Apocalypse is like. Alright guys, this is Maximum Apocalypse and how to set it up. This is just one of the scenarios involving the many different scenarios you can choose in the game. You're going to set up the board just as they ask you to, as well as everybody's going to pick a character as well as a character deck. Now there's the Hunter, Fireman, Surgeon, and Gunslinger, and they all have their own character standees as well as their decks. You also go ahead and set up basically the shop deck, or where you the search decks, and you've got the red, the green, and the blue. And every single deck is going to have different corresponding cards in them that you're going to have to choose for the scenario. And more than likely, the red deck's going to have red cards that are like fuel, and the green deck is going to have green cards, which involve food, and ammunition will be found in the blue deck. And there's also other stuff as well. You also get dice, starvation dice that will go on your character. You have these dice for the fighting. You've got these for monsters, these little monster tokens, and a bunch of other miscellaneous tokens that are used for different things, as well as a monster deck. And certain scenarios will call for bosses and certain ones won't. So if you do have to call for a boss, you're most likely going to put it in the back of the deck and shuffle the rest of the cards up. After you've gone ahead and selected all your characters, you're going to go ahead and put them and place them here on the shelter, and the game is going to begin. Okay, so you got your characters on your shelter, and for this scenario, you need to get a certain amount of fuel. You probably about 4 fuel, and you need to get to the van. Now, once you get all your characters to the van and escape, you win. However, if you don't, you die, and you lose. So if one person dies, that's the more difficult variant, then you lose the game. Although there's different variants, and you can kind of make up your own house rules. As well as pulling cards from your character deck. Now, just specifically from the Hunter deck, there's 3 different types of items she has here. Short range, long range, mid range, as well as what they do and what they are, and different abilities on them, actions they're required to take. On your turn, you can have 4 actions, and you can move, you can search, you can play cards, you can use abilities. There's tons of other things you can do in the game. Search different sections, tiles on the board. And using these weapons whenever you come across monsters, which will be represented by cubes on the specific tiles. If you're short range, that means you can only attack the tile you're on. If it's a mid-range, like this one here, the crossbow, you're going to have certain amounts of ammunition for a specific range weaponry, and you can only use that as much as you have ammunition for it. And this mid-range means you can take 1 space apart from you, so adjacent space is 1 space, whereas the long range is 2 spaces. And after you go ahead and do your 4 actions, then the next player is going to go ahead and take their turn. Now you're trying to get across the board and get to that van space, and so you're going to be needing to search that red deck mainly to get the fuel. Every scenario is different, but specifically for the red deck, oh, there's already a bunch of fuel in this one, as you see. Searching it's going to get you what you need. All right, let me go ahead and take you back to the board. Alright, so your players are traversing the wasteland of nasty evil zombies, trying to collect those fuel cards as fast as you possibly can. And you're going to be doing that by searching these decks here that represent on the cards. Now, not every single one of these tile pieces is going to actually have a symbol, but the ones that do, you can search that specific pile for an action. As well as, on reveal, some of these tiles are going to have different abilities, like this is a free scavenge in this tile just for revealing it, as well as this one here. And other ones might be discard and equip gear and take 5 damage when you enter this place, a bandit camp, which is not good. Also on your turn, which I forgot to mention, is really important, is all these cards here, all these little tiles here, are going to have numbers on them. And during your turn, you're going to have to roll a die and see what happens. So 3 would mean any space with a 3, maybe this space right here, is going to be putting a monster on it. And whenever a player walks into that space, monsters will appear in front of them, and you literally come right in front of you, and you're going to have to fight them and kill them. And if you don't, they're going to do damage to you. Monsters will have a certain amount of health as well as a certain amount of damage, and they're also going to have abilities down at the bottom. They also might have range on them as well. And as you continue to go across the board, only certain characters, maybe like the Hunter herself, she can actually flip tiles when she's not on them, which can save you a lot of trouble. For instance, here's a river. We might have to go through this, and you don't want to do that. Maybe you're actually going to want to go this way instead, because if you fail, you have to go back to your previous tile. And so these characters are going to progressively go throughout to the tiles and get to the van, provided they have their fuel, and if they can do that, they survive. If they don't and they die, they lose the game. As well as mentioning every single turn, you've got this little food tracker, and every turn you go up 5, then you go up to 6 if you're not eating. And if you do not eat and you go 6 your next turn, you go onto this nasty little starving side of the card. And you'll progressively start to take damage until you die. And it's represented by the amount of health you have, which you can actually use these nifty little health tokens here to represent how much damage you've taken. So basically you're progressing through the board, and there's all these different scenarios you can take, and obviously this is just the first scenario I'm explaining, but there's tons of other ones, and some of them involve bosses, and some of them involve other things other than just trying to gas up the van and escape. So realize that there's tons of great stuff in this game that you can actually do, as well as a bunch of different stuff I didn't really talk about. Alright, well let me go ahead and tell you how I feel about this game. Alright, so Maximum Apocalypse. Well, what I can say is this game is a very light and nice and easy to understand roguelike dungeon crawling style game. And there's tons of stuff in the game. There's tons of cards. There's up to 4 characters, but in the main game it'll be 6. I think it's 2 to 6 players, which is great because the characters do all feel different. If you're going to be the fireman, you're going to get that nice axe and you'll be able to smack things with melee. Or if you're going to go ahead and be the hunter, you're going to actually be able to flip over tiles, which is very beneficial because walking into certain tiles, like for instance that nasty bandit camp that makes you take a lot of damage by walking into it, you'll be able to avoid places like that. Not only just your own player deck, which you're going to be drawing from throughout the game, which has tons of good stuff you can use in it, but also you have these wonderful other decks here that represent the red and the red, which is usually medical supplies or fuel or other good stuff like that, as well as spare parts. I mean, there's tons of stuff. Binoculars. You can run into items that actually give you actions for use, which will help you benefit throughout the game. So all these 3 different other decks, not only just your own basic deck, which gives you cards. And you're going to be helping your friends achieve these goals together, so you need to work cooperatively. And if you don't, you're going to lose the game, which makes it a very fun, very strong cooperative game. Now the replayability is also there as well, because you're going to have tons of different scenarios with tons of different, I don't even know what you want to call it, like campaigns. You have 3 different campaigns. You got the aliens, and you've got the zombies and all that kind of stuff, as well as the different scenarios involved with each and every single one of those. And choosing different characters is going to help recreate that replayability, as well as choosing the different campaigns and the people who you choose to play with. So if you like these short, nice dungeon crawler game, you're definitely going to like this one. Also, the art is really nice. I really enjoy the art. Yes, it is zombies, and it's a very tired theme. I get that for a lot of people. They tell me that. But this game has a lot more to offer than just that. And I would suggest checking out all of the different campaigns you can go through, as well as the nice addition to bosses and monsters. When you're fighting them is very interesting as well, the back and forth, where you're going to be able to beat all of these different monsters, but the amount of endless swarms that come out is going to be dangerous, to say the least. And it's very interesting to decide, okay, there's monsters this way. Do you want to go back and backtrack to go to that gasoline station to get that gas when there's tons of monster cubes on there? Is it worth it? Or even better yet, the combinations of cards you can combine together, where I make the fireman makes all the monsters come together, and then the ranger does this blast that kills all the monsters once they've gotten there, which was nice and helped us throughout the game. And then progressively trying to cooperate to get to that end goal, whatever it might be. Maximum Apocalypse is a very, very good dungeon crawl roguelike game, and I really, really suggest you checking it out. If you're interested, go ahead and check down below in the description and see what it's like. Alright guys, that's all I gotta say. Alright guys, this has been another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter board game review. If you like this video and like to see more, go ahead and check out the rest of our videos here on YouTube. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. As well as checking out all of our content on unfilteredgamer.com. We've got tons of blog posts, giveaways, and our huge Kickstarter list that makes it easier for you to check out Kickstarter board games right now. Also, don't forget to check out our affiliate websites, everythingboardgames.com and thegiveawaygeek.com. That's it for now, and we look forward to seeing you next time.